one variable is there, when your study looks for one variable only, so there will be one sample against a claim, and the test used here is one sample test, actually one sample t test, there is only one test. Now in case of bivariate, there are 4 cases possible. These 4 cases are possible because of descriptive study or because of experimental study. Because of descriptive study, because of experimental study. I am trying to fit in everything with the format of what we have learned so far. Cases of difference, univariate, bivariate. In bivariate, if it is descriptive study or if it is experimental study. If it is a descriptive study, then you remember it is a bivariate. Bivariate, and we are talking about difference. It means out of the 2 variable, one variable must be non-metric. Are you able to understand that? When we say we are talking about difference, so first thing, do you agree that difference means 2 minimum? 2 are required for difference. If I will say I am alone in my house and I do not have a difference of opinion with anybody, so I will say no, there must be second person. But then the people of OB and psychology, they say no, single person can also fight. Single person fights, this is what is happening and this is what I want, a duality. But again, duality is there. 2 are mandatory for any difference. So here I am saying when it is a bivariate analysis, the 2 variables are there. So can you understand it from that perspective, that one will be the variable and second will be the categories. If I will say weight of boys and girls are different, so essentially I will talk about one is weight and second variable will be boy or girl. So I will check whether the between boy and girl is the same. So now there is one more thing, if you measure this, the thing comes how many number of categories in independent variable. Number of categories, I am writing it as cats, number of cats in independent variable. On the basis of it we differentiate number of categories in independent variable. Simply check it once again, because I am not very sure whether I have conveyed it properly or not. Bivariate means there will be 2 variables. The word difference means at least one of them will be non-metric, having category, because had they been both are metric, then we will won't use the difference, we will go for relation. Difference means I am talking about the table 2 and where you have written hypothesis testing. Table 2, dependent variable metric, independent non-metric, hypothesis testing, that scenario I am talking about. A further thing is how many categories of independent variables are there. If it is 2, then the test used is 2 independent sample test. If there are 2, then it is 2 independent sample test. If there are more than 2, then we use one way ANOVA or let's say it, actually it is called K independent sample test. Take an example, whether the marks of boys and girls are the same. Metric, dependent variable metric, independent non-metric, hypothesis testing. In the hypothesis testing, independent variable got only 2 categories, so it will be 2 independent sample test. And if I will do instead of gender, urban, rural or semi-urban. Now there are the 3 categories of independent. Now we cannot apply the 2 independent sample test, we will apply K independent sample test. Such tests are, I am writing 2 independent sample, I am now written T test. 2 possible things are 2 independent sample T test or its substitute U test is also available here. The 2 tests possible here are 2 independent sample T test or U test. Likewise here either one way ANOVA is possible or H test. Either one way ANOVA or H test, 2 are the things possible. I will write here also separately, but this is 1, this is second, this is third, 3 we have done. If it is experimental research, just think about experimental research and tell me, is it a bivariate or univariate? In the experimental, the example we have taken is a person got a fever, tablet is given, and then fever of the same person is noted again, the first reading and the second reading. How many variables are there? 1, that is fever. So, what is the second variable here? Second variable is not actually the variable, that is the time period. Please remember, in experimental research, one of the variable is always the time period. So, here we won't use the term as variable, the term used here will be measurement. Measurement like before and after, pre and post. We use like this. Measurement is actually measuring the fever, etc. It is not a measurement of nominal ordinal. So, one is the fever from the same person. So, Mr. X, the fever was noted before and later on. So, variable is the fever, but timings are 2. It is called pre, it is called post. So, there are 2 variables available. There are 2 variables available. So, that is experimental. Again, we call it as number of readings or measurement. Again, 2 or more than 2. So, number of readings 2 means pre and post, and number of reading more than 2 means pre, post and post. Now, let me give you one scenario. Number of reading 2. So, where should I write it as? Experimental number of reading. When it is 2, we use here as 2 related sample test. We call it as 2 related sample test. Paired t test come here and other test is WMP test. Wilcoxon matched pair test. Two related sample test, either paired t test will come here. So, why I am writing 1 with 1? Because that simple thing is, one assumption is there, normality. If normality is there, t test, if not there, u test. Likewise, normality not there, s test, not there, Wilcoxon matched pair test. So, they got a substitute for not normal data. You know, real life scenario may not be normal all the time. So, it is a substitute. Now, what is meant by K related sample? See friends, I tell you, when I was a student, for years I was confused. It says 2 independent sample t test, and my question was always, where are the 2 samples? I have taken only 1 sample. So, where is that second sample? That was always a confusion. Much later I understood what he says sample, we are calling it as category. So, it is better you write like this, 2 independent category t test. For example, if I have taken 1 sample, remember 2 variable gender and weight. So, what are the 2 categories are? Boys and girls, he is calling as the 2 category. Every book says 2 independent sample, and there is always a confusion. Sample we understand, we went to the people and taken 1 sample, where is the second sample? So, here it is 2 independent category, K independent category, 2 related category and K related category. So, you can substitute sample with category and it will make more sense. Take an example of K related. Can you give an example where we have taken pre and post and post and post? Pre and post are okay, like in a teaching training program. So, before the training, after the training. But what is pre and post and post and post? One can be weight reduction program. The weight reduction program, you joined a weight reduction program and subsequent weight after every week. That is one. Other is chemotherapy. So, those who are aware of chemotherapy, it is basically poison. So, when the poison is given, it directly there is a loss of the blood cells, because poison does not differentiate between the good and the bad blood cells. So, it just destroy everything that comes. And you might have known that chemotherapy takes 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. It is not like blood or glucose, it will be done in 1 hour. It takes 6, 7 hours. Why they do that? Because they continuously check the blood count. If the blood count goes down, then patient may sink. So, what is there? It is pre, after 1 hour, 9 am the chemo started, blood count at 10, blood count at 11, then 12 and 13. So, what is that? That is K related, pre and post and post and post. So, it is, we say the technique is repeat measure ANOVA, or one more is Friedman test. So, there are so many, right? So, 8 tests are there, 2, 4, 6, 8. But real life scenarios are, I was not interested in their names actually. Categories, if you look for, 5 categories are there. 5 real life scenarios can be there. Either it is a 1 sample or it is a 2 sample. In descriptive study, it can be 2 independent sample, K independent sample, 2 related sample, K related sample. Let me just explain it once more with some example. Actually, I just made it little complicated. I have told you the names. First, we are talking about the categories. Names will come later. Which test?